from a chair, and you'll still get that binaural audio, so it sounds like things are going on behind you and things.
Okay, so that's good access. But what sort of age ranges do you cater for?
Really kind of cater for everyone. We are a family attraction. It's a fun family day out. I would kind of say anyone 8 or above, it's absolutely fine for, but it's one of those really difficult things because you get some 3-year-olds coming in who absolutely love it, and then you get some 30-year-olds who are just kind of terrified of everything and anything. So it is a difficult one to kind of put your finger on and say, yeah, it's definitely for this age range. But broadly speaking, anyone who's kind of older than 8 is gonna have a really good time. And everything it's done in the London Dungeon is all done very much in a kind of fun, irreverent way. We're not a horror attraction. One of the misconceptions is that, you know, it's extreme horror. There's going to be people chasing you with a chainsaw or something like that. It's not. It's all about London history, the sort of darker, murky, horrible history side, but it's all done very much with a kind of bit of banter, bit of jest, that kind of, all very much kind of light-hearted, sort of taking the mick out of the horrible stuff that happened in the capital city.
Oh, taking the mickey, that sounds like me. So, how long should a visitor set aside for a visit?
The whole experience, as it's a guided tour, takes 90 minutes in its entirety. So a good hour and a half to do the entire building.
When would be the best time to arrive?
Generally, we say come early or come late, or the best advice is to really book tickets in advance on our website, which is thedungeons.com/London. By doing that, you book yourself into a half-hour time slot, which you can arrive any time between your half hours. On arrival, you go into our priority queue, which is our quickest entry. Still anticipate maybe a maximum of 45-minute wait, but that's much shorter than our general walk-up line. That will be the quickest way to get you in, and you'll also save yourself some money because our web tickets are always much cheaper than our tickets that you buy on the door.
Okay. So web is best. Even though it's busy, once you're in, you're guaranteed to see everything because it's guided. You're not going to miss out.
Absolutely, and although we're a busy experience, we're popular. Unlike some attractions where you just kind of get pushed in and it's all a bit crowded, we purposely limit the number of people who can go through, so everyone does get a great experience. They can see everything, and you will certainly see the entire building because it's a fixed tour. You move around with a group of people from room to room to room, and you'll see each kind of set piece and each attraction or each show that's in each room.
That's good. You mentioned you've got rats and cockroaches. But how many actors do you have working? And are they looked after as well as the rats and cockroaches?
They would probably say no. Yeah, on top of the cast of the rats and the cockroaches, which in total probably is sort of in the sort of high 50s, I'd guess, in terms of the animal side. And performance side, in total it's a cast of over 100 actually, but at any one time there's probably about 30 actors in the building, kind of doing different rotations and things like that. And then we also have people who operate our rides, who we call them dungeon keepers, and they're the guys that put you on the ride and send you on your way down the River Thames, that kind of thing.
Do they put that on their passports as their occupation?
It'd be a good one, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I imagine you'd be like, had to do a little bit of explaining as dungeon keeper.
I think it's worth doing it just for that.
Checking it out before you check in on the John Guinn Travel Show on ukhealthradio.com.
Would I better hire your place for a party?
Absolutely. It's a great place. It's a really cool venue for a party. You can have dinner down in Guy Fawkes' cellars and have a nice table down there. Again, the easiest place to find out about that kind of information is on the internet. Merlin have a company called Merlin Events. Just kind of Google that, and that will take you to a company who facilitate all the events across all the London attractions. So you can have dinner with Guy Fawkes, or you could have dinner up at Madame Tussauds, surrounded by kind of all A-list celebrities who will be joining your party as well. It's a very cool place. When we had the opening party, everyone kind of had medieval beer, like mead and pies and things. It was definitely a unique kind of party that you've never been to before.
You mentioned about the discounts if you go early. go late, but we haven't actually said what your opening times are.
At the moment, we're open 10 till 7 at night, so 7 p.m. is our last admission. Outside of the main school holidays, it's typically 10 till 5 our opening hours, and 10 till 6 at the weekends. The only day that is slightly different is every Thursday when we open at 11 due to some fire alarm tests within the building that we sit in, which is County Hall, right next to the River Thames.
Mm-hmm. So you kind of have to stick to that then?
Yeah, we decided not to open any earlier because just so it ruins the kind of immersive atmosphere that we're trying to create here. So when you're walking through the cobbled streets of London to Mrs. Lovett's pie shop, we really want to make you feel like you're there. So we've gone to the lengths of kind of putting the cobbles down on the floor, creating scents. You've got sound effects of people, the paperboy shouting, carts and all that kind of stuff, and then you go into Mrs. Lovett's actual pie shop and meet her. So we really wanted to transport you from 21st century London and take you to those places, and just with a fire alarm going off, practicing in the test would be a bit disruptive. So we've taken that decision to open at 11 on those days.
Yeah, I think the alarm would kill that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
What's your favourite part of the dungeon?
My favourite part is probably I've got two favourite parts. The section where you board the boat ride, it's kind of a dock side. We try to recreate the fact that you're outside on the side of the Thames, so it's windy down there. You've got this breeze coming through, and then my second favourite is actually probably Mrs. Lovett's pie shop. It's a really nice, beautifully themed set, beautiful oak floorboards, smell of pies, kind of flickering lights, and once you get the character, one of our actors in there playing Mrs. Lovett, who's a really brilliant, fun character, because she's kind of, she's very kind one minute, and the next minute she's kind of slightly on edge, and it's a really, really good, gritty character to get into, and it can be a lot of fun.
It does sound it really does.
Mm.
Finally, you mentioned a few websites. Could you just go through the web addresses again, please?
Yeah, of course I can. So the main one for all kind of ticket information, opening times, or any type of information is www.thedungeons.com/London. And from there you can find out all the information, or look at dungeons near you. As I say, there's a dungeon in York, Blackpool, Edinburgh. There's also one in Warwick as well, which is part of Warwick Castle. The one for events is Merlin Events. Just Google that one. That's probably the easiest way to go about that. Mm-hmm. And Merlin Annual Pass as well. You can actually find the Merlin Annual Pass information on the London Dungeon website, though.
Okay, great. Thanks, Matt.
Brilliant.
Thanks for your information. It certainly brought it alive to me, so I'm going to have to pop down.
Yeah, absolutely. Come down, come see us, do a tour, do the rides, have your photo in our kind of iconic stocks. And it's really good. It's good, light-hearted fun, and you might actually learn something as well. There's quite a lot of history in there.
Oh, don't spoil it by saying I'm going to learn something.
You won't know you're learning there. That's the secret. It's
okay,
fun learning.
As long as there's no homework and a quiz at the end, that'd be fine.
Yeah, no, there's no homework.
Okay. Thanks, Matt. Thanks a lot.
No problem. Have a good day.
Thanks. You're listening to The Travel Show with John Guinn on UKHealthRadio.com. And now the last attraction on this week's half-term special, the Science Museum. I went there a few times when I was a kid. I was a geek. I am a geek. And I'd much rather look at something you can plug into the mains and play with than dinosaur bones, to be perfectly honest. So I was really excited when the Science Museum said yes to the interview. And as I already mentioned at the beginning of the show, it had to take 2 takes because my recorder packed up. But never mind, it's taught me that to always take 2 recorders when I ever go anywhere, and I've got to go to the museum twice, so it wasn't all bad. I'm speaking to Anthony Richards, who's the learning manager at the Science Museum, and the first thing I'm going to talk about is explain exactly what it is.
The Science Museum is one of the national museums in Britain, one of our great achievements, I think, as a society. So you have places like the National History Museum and the Science Museum, National Mountain Museum, all of those ones, and we're one of the ones located in South Kensington, so people might remember coming here as a child on Exhibition Road, and it comes really from the Great Exhibition. Was this huge exhibition in 1851, and a lot of the sort of enthusiasm and a lot of the collections for those museums sort of originated from that time. So it goes back, I suppose, to around about 1851.
Are any of the original exhibits from 1851 still on show?
They are, yeah. What's interesting about this museum is, like a lot of big museums, is most of the stuff is in storage, and people don't really think of that. So about, I suppose, 90% or so is in storage. And a lot of that is the original, from the original sort of source collections. But there are still some things on show which were very important. Particularly, I suppose, as you come in, the Industrial Revolution, there's some very, very important engines, like the Bolton and Watt engine and the Newcomb engine, as you come in to the main entrance. So, yeah, there are some on show still.
Where do you store your stuff? Must take up a lot of space.
You can't believe it. Well, there's a huge post office building in Olympia, which was originally the National Savings Bank. People might know it if they live around there. It's called Blythe Road. It's the most amazing building. And in there, we've got storage facilities for the V&A, the British Museum, and the Science Museum. So we've got a lot of our medical stuff in there. I've been in there, and you wander around and open these doors that used to be full of clerks, I suppose, doing banks and things. And there's a room full of dentist chairs. There's a room full of skulls. It's sort of a spooky place in a way, but that's one of our storage facilities. But then the other really, really big one is in the West Country, down in Wroughton near Swindon, where we've got a World War II aircraft hangar. Well, not a hangar, it's an airfield with 5 or so hangars on it, and they are jam-packed full of the most astonishing stuff, from planes to vehicles that travelled to the polar caps, to the Rolling Stones' private jet, all sorts of different things. Oh, and the lawnmower collection, that's what the lawnmower collection is. So, it's masses and masses of space needed for all these things once you've acquired them for the nation, really.
So if somebody's interested in lawnmowers, could they apply to go and have a look at them?
If they wanted to, and yes, they could, yeah. The thing about a national collection is that it's not actually owned by me or any of my colleagues. We look after it for the nation. We look after it in perpetuity, we say, and it's actually the people of Britain who own all of these things. And yeah, you can ring up and ask to see objects or collections if they are in storage, yeah.
I'm trying to think why they would keep the Rolling Stones private jet.
There's a reason behind everything, John. Yeah,
Okay.
there's a reason why everything is collected, and I don't know offhand. It must be a particular type, or it was donated. I don't know, but it's we don't take everything that's offered to us. But if it's of significance, then we would take it, and yeah, there'll be a story. That's the thing about objects in museums. They tell a story of a time and of how it was made and what it was for. So yeah.
I keep saying museum for the Science Museum, but is there a pet name for it?
No, I don't think I've ever heard a pet name for the museum. I mean, what I've heard after working here for a long time is people refer to it as the museum where you can do things, the place where you can fiddle around with things, the room where the stuff works. So I've heard that sort of used before. But no, I don't think we've got an actual pet name. We all just call it the museum, actually. Just the museum. It becomes part of your everyday life. You know, people walk through office blocks and through open plan offices, but we walk through, you know, the nation's collection of historical scientific achievement. It's an amazing privilege, really, to do that.
There's a lot of history here, and the building's quite old. Is it haunted? Are there any ghosts?
Yeah, the ghost of my former self, perhaps, as a schoolboy. It isn't, I don't think. But what we do have, strangely, you should mention that, because we have sleepovers for young kids. So from about 7 to 14, if you're that age, once a month we hire it out, and about 400 kids sleep overnight here. Mm-hmm. And they come along with their sleeping bags and their toothbrushes and their teddies. And one of the things that they assume, of course, is once the lights go out, that it's going to be haunted by the ghost of scientists or evil spirits. So we play on that sometimes with a little bit of storytelling to add to the educational sort of workshops that they get. But no, I've yet to see any spectres in the last 25 years.
The sleepover sounds fun. I'm just a little bit out of the age range now to do that.
Just a bit, yeah.
It would have been really interesting when I was a kid.
Well, we've run them for 20 years. So what's really amazing for me, having worked on a lot of those, and they're very, very exciting, energizing nights, is that there are some people now that came on them when they were younger, 7 to 12, let's say, and ended up working here. So one of my colleagues, Shana, who works as a manager here, came on a science night when she was about 8, and I was working that night, which is really